Some drivers are making a massive mistake when it comes to filling up their fuel tanks, and it could be costing them over £500 per year. All it requires is a little bit of forethought and planning, and you can make a substantial saving to the price that you pay for fuel. We're not adjusting driving style, we're not doing anything to the car, we are just being more careful where we buy our fuel. Whatever fuel we use in our car, we need to pay for it at the pumps. They don't like it if we just drive off without paying. And depending on where we live, there's a big variation in the fuel prices, whether we're buying petrol or gasoline if you're in the US, or we're just a diesel driver buying diesel fuel. We're going to make some assumptions here that we do an average 12,000 miles a year and we get 40 miles to the gallon. If you get more miles to the gallon, you're not going to have as big a difference as we're talking about in this video. If you do more than 12,000 miles a year, you're going to see a bigger difference. I've just taken this as a ballpark so you can illustrate and round up and round down from where you are and see what your relative fuel saving is going to be. It's the 28th of July, just for reference, when I recorded this, so all fuel prices relate to this. This video will probably go out sometime in September now, or maybe even October, and the fuel prices could have gone absolutely crazy by then. I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I do anticipate a bit of an increase in fuel prices, but for now we're just using the current prices to make this comparison. If you don't live in the UK, you'll be interested to know just how much we are paying for fuel over here. The average price for the most common fuel type that most people will be paying around the country is about 134.9 pence per litre. When you round that up to a US gallon and you convert the exchange rate at 129 US dollars to the British pound, we're paying $6.47 per gallon of fuel. Let me know how that compares with where you are. I suspect we're probably being ripped off at the pumps every time we fill up over here, but I'll certainly be interested to know what fuel prices are like in your area and has it increased in the last few years. Quick rundown on the fuel prices that I've used in this calculation. So the UK average for unleaded is 134.9. The motorway unleaded, where we fill up on a motorway, is 158.42. Super unleaded, the high octane derivative we use, is 150.51. Diesel, the UK average is 142.49. The motorway price for diesel is 167.19. If we went up to premium diesel, we'd be looking at 162.12. So it's about a 20% premium on buying your premium diesel. The annual fuel cost, we're going to look at the extremes here. We're going to look at motorway prices. So if you're Bob and you go on the motorway all the time and that's the only place you fill up, you're going to be paying a lot more than Sally, who shops around and gets the very cheapest fuel she can. She doesn't care about her engine, its longevity, or even what she puts in the fuel tank, as long as it makes the car go and she can drop her kids off to school. So at 12,000 miles per year, Sally will spend £1,730 per year. That's at the 126.9 pence per litre. Bob, however, using the same fuel but just filling up on the motorway, will pay £2,161 per year. So Bob is losing £431 a year just because he's filling up on the motorway. If our respective drivers were using super unleaded or higher octane fuel, the difference would be an extra £322 per year. And similarly, if our drivers had diesel cars, Sally would be paying £1,730 per year for fuel. We're still assuming 40 miles to the gallon, which probably isn't the case on a diesel, but we're keeping everything the same for the purpose of this comparison. And Bob on the motorways is paying £2,281. That's a very painful £551 extra per year. So the upshot is, if we buy fuel where it is most convenient to us on the motorways, on the main roads, it tends to be more expensive, and they could be ripping us off to the tune of £500 or more per year when we total it all up. Generally, we just go to a fuel pump and put the fuel in without thinking too much about the price, and that is what the fuel companies are banking on. They don't want us going to the cheapest or the cheaper options. You will usually find as I do in my area, the Shell petrol station that's on the motorway just outside the port is generally about 10 pence per litre more expensive than another Shell in the different location out in a more rural area. Even the brands themselves then, there's a price differentiation depending on where the fuel station is. Is it fair? Well, they would probably argue it costs more, they pay higher taxes, and it takes a lot more maintenance to run these busy petrol stations in busy areas. But there's also the element they've got the driver over a barrel and they can charge whatever they want, and they know it and they get away with it. I'll let you debate in the comments how cheap you're willing to go. Are you willing to go to the very cheapest supermarket fuel, or do you shop around within the brand fuel that you buy, or have you got another option that I've not mentioned in this video for keeping your fuel costs down? We may just be putting 50 or 60 pounds in our tank each week, but we should really think about the annual fuel cost. It gets up to quite a scary number when we start thinking about it. And when you scale it up, you start to realize that this little pence difference at the pump when we fill up can make quite a substantial saving over the year. And the more of us that actually shop around and buy cheaper fuel and avoid paying the rip-off prices, the more pressure is going to be put on the fuel companies to lower those higher prices, and they'll make some effort to price match because they want to make profit at the end of the day. And let's not make it easy for them to make excessive amounts of profit. If you've enjoyed this video, please boot the like button. That really does help us to get out there. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'd hate you to miss out on the great content we've got planned, like this video and this playlist you should find really interesting. Thanks for watching. See you in these next videos.